Hey everyone, Chris Haddon, Jason Balin here with hardmoneybankers.com and hardmoneymastermind.com, here with the Private Lenders Podcast. Today we are talking about how to run your hard money lending business virtually, online, remotely, which is something that we have had to transition to this year for obvious reasons with the pandemic going on and most of our team working from home. We still do have our office and we have been coming in on occasion, maybe like one person a day, maybe not even that much. I'm actually in the office right now because we started coming back a little bit, but really only one person a day, something like that. And I come here because I like to, and I like our office, don't necessarily have to. Some of the team does to get checks and mail and just basic stuff like that. But aside from that, we have really transitioned to running our lending business virtually. And it has caused, or has forced almost some modernizing of our company, some upgrades, right? And kind of bringing us more into the future. And, all in all, it's been a positive.
Yeah. And the beauty of the private lending business to begin with is, number one, you can grow it to any size you want. It can be small, it can be big, however you want to do it, right? You can be a one-man operation, or you can have multiple staff depending on your appetite. And you can also have an office or not have an office, right? There's a lot of flexibility. Right. There's no rules. There's no magic book that tells you exactly how it's got to be run, right? I mean, think about a lot of the consulting clients that we work with. A lot of them are, one or two operators, and that's it. And they don't, they work from their house. And especially if you're getting started, you can always work from your house, right? You don't necessarily need a business. But if, let's say, you own another lending company, or you have a flipping company, or you have another business or office yourself, sure, you could piggyback off of that. So there's no rules. You can set it up any way you want.
Yeah, I think something that's really applicable to a lot of the lenders and aspiring lenders listening or watching right now is that they might be operating at like one or two people currently, but that's going to change when they grow, right? Like at some point, you're going to want that bookkeeper, that accountant to come on. That's usually, one of people's very first hires, just to offload, because there's a, pretty accounting heavy business that we're in, just so many transactions in and out. Like, how do you manage that remotely? How do you do the electronic transactions? Maybe after that, you're going to have some sort of loan processor, right? Preparing your files to get ready to closing, and maybe they're in another spot. So we're going to talk a little bit about who does what in the changes, in essence. Like some of the stuff that we did in 2019 is different now, how we're able to process transactions and to keep our company rolling along. You want to start at the beginning? Like, have there been any changes in, I know this part of it was already pretty modern, but in terms of marketing, lead flow, handling applications, like, were there any changes since that's your end of the business? Any changes that happened when we all moved to the house?
So there's not a ton of huge changes, but there is one very important one that I'm going to talk about related to underwriting in a second, that we'll get to. But in general, the way that we operated, most people either use their cell phones or they use some sort of VoIP system, voice over IP phone system. So, they call in, and depending on what, the size of your company and how many employees you have and things like that, it can be a well-organized manner. The way that we have it set up is I actually have a separate cell phone, and this is like our sales line, right? So they call into our office, or they call me directly, or whatever. It all gets funneled right into this. Now, the beauty of this is, you can go anywhere with it. You're not tied to it. And we also use something called Ring Central, which is actually a very, very good application. And our partners in our other offices use that. And that's just tied to their regular cell phone. I still get a decent amount of calls on my regular cell phone, and I want to just keep them separate. So I like to use this other sales line for it. But as far as our front facing to our clients, they don't know, right? This is the office line. They call it in, and it's set up. And the way we have it set up is just like that. And it makes it easier. I can text people back and forth, can really communicate with people very, very rapidly and quickly, because the name of the game is bringing leads in and getting through them regularly. So as far as everyone thinks, we're still in the office business as usual. Like, nobody even realizes that the majority of our staff right now is working remote, because they just don't, and it's fine. They don't necessarily need to. So in general, the core operation, it still works. Now, obviously, some people aren't as efficient if they're working at the house. maybe they have a spouse, or maybe they have kids. So that's up to you to kind of create your own at-home work environment to make sure you're efficient. In general, I think I can speak for Chris and myself on this. One of the reasons we enjoy going to the office is we can obviously collaborate and work things off each other. And in general, you walk into your office building or your individual office, and your brain starts flowing, your creativity starts flowing, and you're into that special place of like, I know when I get in this place, like it's all hard money lending. It's the only thing that is I'm going to be completely uninterrupted. So, but again, I don't think on an origination, on an upfront end, there's any big deal. It's wherever you can be your individual rock star and grind.
Yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking of something that is a subtle change, but has been a bit of a shift since we have been in the office. And that's related to some of our marketing and content creation. So a lot of the things are the same, like our paid ads are running out the same. Obviously, our search traffic, organic and all that, no real change there. Email broadcast the same, but our content creation did change a bit because a lot of that was office focused, like where we would have our audio and visual stuff and us here at the same time, and it'd be on the same camera, and some of that stuff shifted to like the shared videos like we're doing right now, being in different locations and Facebook Lives and stuff like that. So I don't know, not like it didn't move in a bad direction at all, but it just kind of changed a little bit, right?
Sure.
Okay, so moving on down the line, or do you want to comment something there?
Yeah, I was going to say, so, and this is moving on the line, it's probably right where you're getting at anyways. So that's kind of like the upfront, the origination stuff. Underwriting, very, very similar. Now, obviously, if there's multiple parties involved inside your operation, you got to have a good system in place to make sure you're communicating, just so you're not like on speakerphone with somebody in your office 24/7, just like you're sitting next to them, right? You have to have a system in place, a good way to communicate. We like to use GChat, our entire operations on Google Apps. So because of that, we do a lot of GChat. We do our Monday morning huddle up, where it's a Zoom call where the whole team gets on in place, so everyone's aware of what's going on that week and what our game plans are. And then a lot of people communicate. I would probably say the majority of our communication is with email and chat. Think about what a chat is and think about what an email is. If we could just chat something to somebody, we're not going to send them an email of it. If it's just one off, like, hey, did you see this came in, or did you get this, or did you get that? We'll chat. Right. We'll do emails as such, and then as necessary, we'll do phone calls. Sometimes a 5-minute phone call is a heck of a lot better than spending 30 or 40 minutes going back and forth on email. So just use the proper communication channel as needed. And I'll tell you, let's go to the underwriting side of it. Now, the underwriting side, for the most part, I would say is 90% good, doing things virtual, because you're either in your office or you're in your home office or whatever the case is. It's fine. Now, the one thing that's important is we're huge advocates to go to all your properties and meet all your borrowers. It's super important. You have to. You have to. We've done plenty of videos in it. Whenever we do private consulting with some of our clients, it's the same thing. You have to meet your borrower. You have to go look at the property. It's super important. It's super important to do. And right now, how are you going to meet a borrower? Like that's tough. A lot of people aren't comfortable with that. But the good part is there's tools. There's Zoom. There's Google Hangouts. There's FaceTime. There's other ways that you can still communicate with them. Now, you might not be able to get the same, relationship or even gut feel from somebody, right? You can't shake their hand. You can't necessarily get everything out of them, but you try and you do your best. And I'd encourage everyone to make sure they're doing Zoom calls or FaceTiming with borrowers as well. And yeah, it's a little awkward, but it's important.
Yeah. When you're giving someone hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's not too much to ask. Can we jump on a call and have a conversation, right? And also, there still are safe ways. There's a lot of real estate transactions happening, or real estate related activities happening at properties. Like you can meet someone there, stand in the front yard, they stay outside, you go in wearing masks, like all the proper stuff. So, but yeah, that's a good point. That's a good backup too. That's a good backup to do video calls. I definitely agree with that. And then some other just logistical stuff that has shifted, but I would say improved ultimately when we're talking about our operation. So going down the line from marketing, origination, we talked about underwriting, as Jason just mentioned, and then down to like processing and accounting and stuff like that. Now, it was pretty convenient to have people in the same office almost every day where they could walk next door and talk to them about something, pass them a document like here, when we get ready to fund a loan, we have a few things that we need to have. The wiring instructions, obviously, the insurance and paid receipt, and also the signed closing instruction from the title company, which we used to staple, pass to our controller, and that was her cue to prep the wire to go out, right? Now that's happening by sharing documents online, sharing the wire instructions and the other information using Google Docs, which is what we run our document storage on, and a number of other things like online origination, stuff like that. So it's changed it a little bit, but I don't think it's bad. There's other little things, like we used to be able to just print out documents and I would sign whatever I need to sign, originals like lien releases or some documents that our attorneys related to a default might need. Like that was kind of easy just to do that and print it out, sign it original, drop it in the outgoing mail, and that was it. Now it's a little different. Like I use an app called HelloSign, where I was able to design my own signature in there. And I think it's a paid app, but a very helpful one. So now I'm doing that online and I can send it out to our team member, Terry, for example, our portfolio manager / processor who's a notary. So she, it's just happening from her house and my house. So there's a little different, not bad. And then also another interesting one was real estate's still heavy on checks, on mailing checks, like whether it's a monthly payment or fees after a closing. And a lot of that has shifted in a good way. So instead of that, we'll get documents after closing emailed and wires in for our fees and interest and construction reserve, stuff like that, which most title companies are cool with. We don't get too many complaints on occasion. We do. Borrowers were definitely encouraging that we ACH pull, automatic debit their monthly payment instead of sending us checks. Not everyone goes for it. Some people want to control the timing of that payment and such, but a much greater percentage has moved to those electronic payments. So these are all upgrades, like even if you're talking about the various jurisdictions, and jurisdictions like oftentimes means counties. So counties in each state, like you're talking dozens of them, right, that we lend in.
Sure.
Counties are everywhere. And they all do their recording a little bit differently. Do you have to send it in? If you do send it in, does it have to be original? Like by send, I mean mail. Or can you email a signed document to a title company that they could record then? Like, can they record a release online? I don't know. Some can, some can't. Hopefully this is all pushing them in the right direction too, because real estate has been a little antiquated, a little behind the times in that regard, like requiring original documents you have to mail and somebody has to physically grab it and record it in however fashion. So yeah, I mean, I think these are upgrades in the end. Not, I mean, the change, adjustment, it's always a little funky, and it took us a little while to get used to it, a handful of weeks. More than that, it took a month. I don't know. But ultimately, I think it's an upgrade. And later on, we can come back or not come back here. We could end up downsizing. We have a pretty good size office. For right now, we totally plan on keeping it. And I don't know. I mean, we just have more options in the future because we can operate in this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the important lesson with all of this is adapting, pivoting the business as necessary. And really it's to whatever level you want it to be at. Like we talked about when we started this podcast, you can be a small lender, you can be a big lender. It all depends. I will tell you that and Chris will attest to this, that being a bigger lender doesn't necessarily mean lining your pockets with more money. It just doesn't. There's that threshold of loan size or volume size that will really be kind of the right numbers to be at, and you'll learn it, right? One of the reasons that our goal has never been to scale so large is, number one, more headaches, more overhead, more top line revenue doesn't necessarily mean more bottom line revenue, right? And we've kind of got to that threshold of that $35 million deployed capital, and that's where we've been for a long time, and that's kind of our comfort level of where it works. Could we go out and potentially grind harder and get more staff and do more? Yeah. Could we go out and lower our terms to lend out more? Yeah. But that's not necessarily the business model. The game plan is to do a decent amount of deals and make very good profits on those deals. And and our top line profits compared to our bottom line profits should be good, and that's kind of our game plan. And I'd recommend that to you. So I mean, if you're a private lender who has a few bucks themselves, or you want to lend out someone else's money and keep it small scale, do a few deals a month, a lot of money to be made by that. Or if you're have a little bit more ambition to do a lot more than that, that's fine as well. But you'll learn eventually what that threshold will be. And it's not going to be, I want to go do 100 deals a month. That's not the game plan. That's not the game plan. This business model is, the goal of this business model is to create an investment vehicle eventually for you and your family, and be able to deploy your own capital. Because as you're deploying the capital, typically the rule of thumb is, if you're raising private capital, the investor's getting about half the funds and you're getting about half the funds. That's where it shakes out to in the life of the loan. So understanding yourself, understanding your priorities, trying to figure out how you want to set this up. And the good part is it could be virtual, or you can have an office. I don't think there's a right or wrong. To us, the benefit of having an office is that creative environment, having the ease to kind of be in that mental workplace, have the comfort to being able to communicate with our other employees. And I think in general, our employees like coming to the office. Number one, it's a good work environment, and number two, they get away from the normal hustle and bustle. I mean, of normal life. So there's that side of it as well. I mean, I think so many people think like, it's Monday morning, I got to go to the office. Well, this is 2020. That's not how things are set up anymore. And if they are, you're probably in the wrong environment.
Yeah, if people are thinking that, they're either in the wrong job or the wrong sort of environment's probably a good word for it. No, it's been interesting, all the changes and that stuff too. And even when it comes to our consulting clients, our hard money consulting clients. So just to back up a little bit, I mean, I don't know how much of our stuff people listening or watching today have seen, but so yeah, some of the base level of what we do in the hard money consulting world is the mastermind group, right? People pay a few bucks a month. They can get access to all their training material, and they can jump on the monthly calls and just be a part of the group, right? And then there are some people who they just want the full on attention and training and consulting, and want to work with us directly. They're serious about it. They want to dive in. And so over the past handful of years, that was all here in the office offline, right? It was 2 days, 2 full days, very full days of working with us here to learn the whole system. And we'd hang out at night and everything else, and it was cool, right? And then there's a series of follow-ups throughout the year. It's a 12-month thing, series of follow-ups as we get people up and running and optimized, and just here to answer questions and all that stuff. So yeah, around the beginning of the year, we took a little time off, and then the whole pandemic stuff happened. And then we're like, okay, well, obviously bringing people in town is not going to be the smartest thing to do when people are trying not to travel, at least not on a plane and all that stuff, unless it's totally essential. And then we're like, we can do this virtually, right? We're already doing all kinds of other stuff on Zoom calls and everything else, and using Google Docs and shared stuff. So the people who signed up for consulting this summer were like, all right, we're gonna move this online, which has been an upgrade as well for a number of reasons. Like, one, they just don't have to travel, not even besides the pandemic, not even because of a pandemic going on. Obviously that's a factor too. People need to be safe, but it was just a lot of people in the country. It's not convenient. It's a big country. It's not super convenient for them to come to Columbia, Maryland for 3-4 days, right? Some people are around DC, Baltimore, and it was some, kind of convenient, but a lot of people were not. So they'd be like, yeah, I want to work with you guys, but that's a lot to ask to come out for a handful of days. So it was an upgrade in that regard. An upgrade there, and also just moving all of our training stuff and everything else online, right? Like all the forms that we share with our consulting clients, and our loan documents, and the loan origination system we use, so we can easily share using Google. So it was a cool upgrade in that regard too. And we were working with a guy last week, and he's like, man, this has been really good, going over the training and the follow-up. And he's like, maybe I can come out and work with you guys for a day. He's from Portland, Oregon. Maybe I can come out and work with you guys for a day next year, after this is all over or something like that. We're like, sure, be happy to, right? It would be fun. It'd be cool to do it offline as well. But point being, we have that capability now too, in terms of doing the consulting online. So another good upgrade.
Yep. So if you're listening to this or watching this, you're interested in that, check out hardmoneybusiness.com. If feel free. We, Chris and I joke about this all the time. If we're not talking to each other about hard money lending, happy to talk to everybody else about it, because it's something we're very passionate about. Not only have we owned this company and started this company 13 years ago, but we were involved in this space before that. And, we like sharing our knowledge with a lot of people. And at this point, we've worked with, a few dozen people all over the country. We've had a few hundred people in our mastermind group, and we've touched tens of thousands on our podcasts and videos and things like that of other private lenders and aspiring hard money lenders. And we like doing it. It's what we talk about every day. So if you're interested in it, happy to chat with you about it and see if it's a good fit.
Good deal. All right, guys. Thanks for checking out the Private Lenders Podcast, and we will talk to you again soon.